We're talking about what's happening in the 731 on the Hub City Now with your host, Tyrone Tony Reed Jr.
Hello and welcome to Hub City Now with Tyrone Tony Reed Jr. Today we're going to be talking with James Theus Jr. about Juneteenth. Other days that are being celebrated today it's Father's Day, which is very good for the show that we're going to talk about June 19th and our ancestors. Also Family Awareness Day, Husband Caregiver Day, and some fun facts. Garfield the Cat Day is today, and National Pets on Film Day is today. But we're glad you're joining us today with my first guest. I was interviewed the first episode. In the second episode, you sat through me talking about myself. And on today, we have the pleasure of welcoming Mr. James Theus Jr. as our first guest, my first guest on Hub City Now with Tyrone Tony Reed Jr. So thank you for coming today, Mr. Theus. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you for inviting me, Tony.
All right. The first thing, before we start, tell me a little bit about yourself and the organization that you're with.
Well, about myself, this is home, and I have been here working with the SAACA. In fact, I am one of the co-founders of the SAACA organization.
What does SAACA stand for?
Society for African American Cultural Awareness.
And how long has it been?
This will be, I'm not quite sure, but we started in 1989. And I guess if I counted up, we're talking about probably 27 years, give or take.
Okay.
And it started from the fact that the name of the organization names itself. Mm-hmm. We are a society, and our purpose is to bring about African and American cultural awareness. And that's what we have been doing for the last 26 years. We do 3 events, and so we used to do 4, but what we do the African Street Festival, which is normally in September, but this year will be the last week in August.
Okay.
We do Juneteenth, and we do Kwanzaa in December, and Juneteenth in June. And we used to do a Black History program, but we decided to change and do a Black History program / celebrate Black Music Month, and something that will allow us to raise some funds. So we do a fundraiser, in which we have a fundraiser coming up this year and called Harlem Nights. Right. And that fundraiser is the purpose of that is to keep some funds coming in so we can do the African Street Festival, so we can do the other events that we do in the city each year.
So you're here today to talk with us about Juneteenth. It's a holiday that a lot of people don't really know about, and it stems from the slavery that was here in America with African Americans. Can you just tell us about what Juneteenth is?
Yeah. Well, you said a lot of people don't know, Donnie, and I keep calling you Donnie because I don't know why I call you Donnie.
That's all right.
But anyway, people in this area, and especially the South, and I don't know how they celebrate. They celebrated in Mississippi, because and the brother that I know from Mississippi, he's a trumpet player, and I just cannot call his name a doctor.
Okay.
In Mississippi, they do that in Mississippi, but I don't know how well it's attended. Now, in other places, Wisconsin, all over the North, Texas, especially Texas, because that's where it originated from. They celebrate it, and it's a big. They do the parade, the walks, the marathon, the whole 9 yards. We are, in other words, it seems like we are the people here in this area that didn't get the news.
Right.
Because the story of Juneteenth was that Abraham Lincoln signed a proclamation freeing all enslaved people.
Right.
In 1863. Right. But we when I say we, the people in Galveston, Texas, a little small community in Texas, town in Texas, did not get the news that Abraham Lincoln had signed the proclamation. So they didn't know.
For how long?
For 2.5 years. When the general came through, and I can imagine, he said, I don't know, he assuming that everybody knew, but he found out that he didn't. And he started telling the war is over. It so happened, Tony, it happened to be on June the 19th. So someone got created and called it Juneteenth. And I think it fits this fine. During that day, after, you can man, see, in those days, our people were waiting to be free. They was waiting on freedom. And when it finally came, the party's over. It's on. It's party time. So us, we got the rhythm, and we got the rhyme. We're going to come up with something. And just so happened, some of the slave masters came together and gave them food. And when we do barbecue in the whole 9 yards. And Kool-Aid, red Kool-Aid became popular that day because of Juneteenth. So when you have a Juneteenth, especially on the outside, you serve red Kool-Aid, and it became a tradition. So, and it's just like I said, they was waiting to be free. And so now, I guess I'm not quite sure the date, excuse me, but it's been over 140 years since that time of that all of us became free from, and that's how Juneteenth became a holiday in some states. And I found out that Juneteenth became a Tennessee state holiday before it became a national holiday.
Wow.
Yeah, I just found that out. So, I'm just passing that on so we'll know as we study our history that Tennessee was already involved with Juneteenth, but we didn't know anything about it.
And it's not like it's on the calendars or anything.
Is
it on the calendars?
No.
Okay.
It was just. I'm not quite sure the term they use. That it's just a recognition. Day of recognition. That's what it is. Yeah, and it became a day of recognition long before it became a year before it became a holiday.
Right. Why do you think it's important to celebrate Juneteenth?
Well, Tony, I don't always look at it as being a celebration because I feel we haven't gained the right yet as a people to celebrate. We have to do a little bit more work and then we celebrate. Those people celebrated because they've been waiting on freedom. Right. But see, they waited on freedom, and we went through a time, Tony, whereas that from 1865 until 1950, it was just rough. When slavery ended in 1863, that's when poverty began. Because if you were living with someone else, they're telling you what to do, they're feeding you, they make sure you go to work, so you don't have to worry about it. All you got to do is work in the fields, sun up to sundown, and go to the cabin and go to sleep. Prepare yourself for the next day.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk more about Juneteenth and its importance to our community.
There are many reasons why you should make Suits You your place for men's clothing. The absolute best in customer service, expert alterations, and more.
I come for the quality.
They have brand names and you just can't beat their prices. I like to be different, and the selections are amazing.
They have great looks and they're in my size.
And I come for the styles.
At Suits You, we really suit you.
At Suits You, we really suit you.
Welcome back to Hub City Now with Tyrone Tony Reed Jr. Today we're talking about Juneteenth, and our guest is James Theus Jr. with SAACA. We left off talking about the importance of Juneteenth, and earlier you said that we haven't earned the right to celebrate Juneteenth. And I wanted to ask you why you feel that and how we can be worthy of such a momentous event.
Well, why we haven't got to that point because of the fact that when slavery ended, there was a period of time there that we as a people, our ancestors, struggled. And they still struggle through the civil rights movement. Now, as you know, Tony, during the civil rights movement, there was some progress made. We had brothers and sisters to lose their lives. You know, they was treated badly because they wanted to continue to be free, and they wanted to be treated equally to all the rest of the people. And it wasn't easy. Everybody did not accept it. They rejected it to the point that it came bloody. It came so nasty, so bloody, they had a Sunday called Bloody Sunday. And we're still struggling 50 years later, even from Bloody Sunday. Why we are still struggling? Because we as a people has failed to carry on what our people from the civil rights movement gave to us. They said, we have integrated places. We have given you some directions. You need to carry on. That's my generation. I take blame for that. That's my generation. We need to carry it on, but we didn't. So the fire went out. And now we're in a position now trying to relight that fire. If we had carried on during the civil rights movement, Juneteenth would be more powerful than the 4th of July among black people. So we haven't gotten to that point. Whether we ever get to that point, I don't know. I hope, pray, and I continue to work that we will. But what it's going to take to get to that point, our people, black people, need to understand and need to know how the United States of America government works. They said we need to vote. Our people are not going to vote, Tony, because they don't have a reason to vote. They don't see the reason to vote. We have to go all the way back and teach our people government for the people, other people, by the people. That includes us. It didn't say white people, black, Chinese, said people should not perish from this earth. Abraham Lincoln, said that in his very vet. I take that to heart because I know what my ancestors have gone through from the first day they hit the shores of America, from Africa, all through slavery, the civil rights movement, on up to today. So we have to do that. We have to, just like for instance, our children, our young people today, they need to be studying the government now. Even Jackson government, Jackson City government, Jackson Madison County commissioners. Because we don't need people to just say, I want to run for city council. Now, we need to choose who we want to put up there. We need to mold that young person to go and sit on that board and represent our districts. We don't need people to just say, because they got an ego, they want to run for city council, or they want the little paycheck that they get, but then they get there. You know this, man. Our people, especially our grassroots people, they have no idea how government works. No, they don't know how the process of working. The city councilmen and persons, they don't take time to go out and have workshops on how the city council work. Now, this is what I would do if I was the city council. Everybody in my district would know me. I would have a bullhorn, Tony, and they would know that James Theus Jr. represent this district. And you can call him, he's going to be there. And I'm going to create programs. I'm not just going to go to the meeting every month, collect the money that's given, and go back to my community. No, it's going to be programs being created. That's what we got to get to. We have to have these government officials held accountable to create these type of programs that we need for our children. They're not doing it. What are we going to celebrate? We're still struggling, trying to get our own people to represent us in city government.
And you mentioned And what you're talking about is kind of what I interviewed Danny Glover last month, and he talked about service. He talked about, helping your community and helping others. And as you said, it goes beyond a paycheck. It goes beyond, I just want a position. I just want people to know who I am. And you mentioned city government has to get involved. What responsibility do parents and church groups have in instilling those things, maybe service-mindedness into their children?
Yeah, well, parents, number one, should be involved. And ministers should also be involved equally along with the parents.
Right.
Because it's not like we all don't see the problems.
Right.
We all hear what's going on. It's publicly known that our children in third grade can't read.
Mm-hmm.
And Tony, if they can't read in the third grade, when will you learn to read? You don't read. You don't learn to read in the fourth grade.
Right, exactly.
So that's where parents come in. The children need to be prepared when they go to school. Your children need to already know how to read and write before they go to the preschool.
Right.
I took time with mine. You need to know how to write your name, where you live, your address, your telephone number, things like that. Your children need to know these things before they go to school. And it wouldn't be so hard on the teacher. But if Johnny can't read and Jamal can, Johnny and Maul in the same classroom, Jamal's going to pass. Johnny going to still be there. He'll never catch up. That's where the parents are the most important. You can't expect the teacher to do all of it. When a child comes home from school, I don't know how old you are, Tony, but when you come home from school, you get your homework first.
Right.
And then you go out there and play a little basketball.
Right. That's what my dad used to tell me. I'm 34. I just turned 34. By the time this taping comes on, it was June 6th. But my father and my mother were both sticklers for getting your homework done. No television, no playing. Get your work first. One of the incidents that makes my wife laugh is that I must have been in elementary school and Batman the Animated Series is on. I'm a superhero buff. And I really wanted to watch that cartoon. And my dad turned the television off and said, "Do your homework." And he said Batman already has his education. You need yours. And I've never forgotten that today. So right now we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to finish up with Mr. Theus about Juneteenth. Also talk to him about being a father since it's Father's Day and Family Awareness Day. Thank you.
In a world obsessed with throwing shade and putting others down, there's a college boldly committed to doing the exact opposite. A college that understands you are not defined by your yesterdays, where dreams are rekindled and hope restored. A place of new beginnings, transformation, and honor. Where a Christian liberal arts education is more than a piece of paper. It's where you start your story all over again. Start your story and discover the new Lane College.
Welcome back to Hub City Now with Tyrone Tony Reed Jr. Again, we're here today with James Theus Jr. with SAACA, and we're talking about Juneteenth. But today also happens to be Father's Day, and Mr. Theus is a father. So I want to ask him, what does being a father mean to you, especially during the times that we're living in?
Tony, I'm going to say I consider myself very fortunate because I grew up with a father in my home. Mm-hmm. The mom was there and dad was there. Not only that, I lived in a community at this time called Mound City in Jackson, and before we moved to the rural area. Mm-hmm. And there was fathers there. All my partners that I went to school with, their fathers was there. Mm-hmm. I moved to the rural and changed schools and changed neighborhoods, and all those young brothers that I met, fathers was in the home. They was farmers, and a lot of them was farmers, and some of them worked in factories, but most of them did their own crops and things of this nature. They planted cotton, that was their means of survival, corn, stuff like this. So when you talk about father, man, I have a massive amount of fathers, man, that I looked up to, up and down that road, called Rochelle Road, named after one of the slave masters. But we lived there, and it was a good community. It still is. But you know, all those men, of the fathers of those guys that I was hanging out with and went to school with, good fathers, man. I mean, just doing good things, farming, building, and fencing, and raising cattle and cows and things like this. So I had a good upbringing during my childhood, which led to my fatherhood. And not only that, when after a certain age, maybe 25, I became conscious of Black history. And I started studying Black history. And that's when I was introduced to my second set of fathers. Not only were they my fathers, they were my teachers. Elijah Muhammad, Mr. Farrakhan, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Marcus Garvey. Those are my fathers too. Because I read about them, their philosophy, their struggle, solution to problems, and told us about things that are going to come today. And I see them coming. So after studying under those guys, I knew what my direction was. I did not hesitate. And when I started having children, I wanted to bring my children up just like my daddy brought us. You know, with the teachings and father's thing, family things is what is it, Family Day?
Family Awareness.
Family Awareness Day. See, I remember all those things, that sitting around the table every evening. We sat at the table and ate. It's not like that. You got one child in his room, one child sitting there, take a bite and doing this computer. They're watching television. So fathers wouldn't, just like you say, your father didn't do. Fathers wouldn't allow us to do that. You know, and the technology today is so out of order. Now, it should sound frightening, but it's going to get worse. Fathers are not teaching because they leave that to the mothers when it comes to certain things. But and another thing, Tony, the father's not there in the home. So there's another problem we have. And see, that's where you was talking about the ministers. The ministers know what we as a people went through. And if you call yourself a minister, knowing you are to minister to the people as a servant of God, what are you hesitating for? You see how young brothers doing what they do. When are you gonna say, okay, well, we got to make some changes? This is what our Juneteenth celebration is about, Tony. In 1977, Mr. James Buchanan, Reverend K.W. Seals, and Miss Genevieve Brooks filed a petition to change the government of Jackson. 3 men and 1 mayor spoke for all. They paid the bills and hired and fired and all that. During that time, there was no representation in city government for the majority of Black districts. They saw that was not fair, because when you go downtown at the city council meeting, there was no Black people or no people that will represent the majority of the grassroots districts. And that's when they filed that petition to the federal government to change that form of government. Today, it's 9-man council with 1 mayor. That was the change. It took them 10 years, from 1977 to 1988, to change that form of government. Those are my fathers. And Miss Brooks is my mother, because they went all the way. They did not stop. It's the same thing with Martin Luther King, the Freedom Riders, and all that, when they integrated the bus station, the Woodward counters, and all that stuff. They were successful. They did it. It worked. It took some time, but they did not give up. That's where I get my strength from. My people didn't give up, so where am I going to give up? I can't give up. So this is what we have to do. We have to pass these things on down to our children. So we know, especially those that don't have a father, that single mothers trying to raise 3 young men, 13, 14, 15. It's not easy. You heard the stories. I heard some horrible stories. And they're not going to go away. The people that you talked about, the ministers and the parents, the people, the civic organization, SAACA organization, I'm ready. I'm going to give 100%. I will let anybody know, and people that know me know I will give 100%. We have to make these changes. Otherwise, war may X. What happened to the black people in Jackson, Tennessee? We didn't do what we were supposed to do. We didn't pass it on to our children. We didn't instill in our children. We didn't tell our children how the government works. We didn't set up programs, projects. We didn't have a young young political project going where we can have children and young people the opportunity to come up and become aware. Do your study. What purpose does the city council represent? What do they do? What does the county commission do? How do they work in government? We have to prepare our young people coming out of high school just like they are preparing their children to run Jackson. We want our children to be a part of it also. Equal representation, equal rights, that's all we ask for. And we shouldn't have to fight 10 years to get it. And tell me we don't. You know what? We are our own worst enemy. Because you don't hear anybody saying, you can't do this, you can't do that. Or you can't be a part of government. That you can't form your organization just like we did and file for grants from the local, state, federal government and set your own programs up your community. We can do this.
Thank you so much. I hate to end because this thing has so much knowledge. But thank you all for tuning in. Celebrate Juneteenth. Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to my father and the Heavenly Father. And thank you, and we hope to see you again.
Thank you.